check. Check, 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 check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, 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 check. Hello. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. This is the speaking mic. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 1, 2. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Maybe I'll turn that up a little bit. Check, check, check. 1, 2. Okay, floor mic. Keep that out of the main left right. And it should not be coming through the main left right, but it should be going to the stream. Should be going very much to the stream. Maybe a little more even than that. Maybe I can just crank it. No. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. We're on the floor mic, floor mic. Check, check, floor mic. Check, check, check.
Hello?
Oh.
When I walk in this theater, for 1 second, it smells like the dentist.
The dentist. Maybe it's the screen smell.
Maybe. I've been meaning to say this to you for years, months, maybe days. But it's like 1 second of like, oh, dentist. I don't know what it is. All right. It's a little silly.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Thanks so much for your help. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Wyatt's my favorite. Don't tell me.
Super. Okay, I don't know anything.
Nope.
All right, so where is it that I'm supposed to I know I'm supposed to speak into a microphone. Is this what I'm?
Yeah, that would be great. You can either leave it on the table and stand behind it, or you can pick it up, carry it around, whatever is most comfortable.
Is there an? I'm a gesturer, and I generally play electroacoustic music, so I'm used to mics on booms. Is there a potential for a boom stand so that
If you
it's a little
want it
closer?
like out here?
Yeah, just so that, because literally I have an iPad with notes, and I'll play from this area. So if there was a mic like
for sure.
here, I think that would actually
We
be
can do
the
that.
easiest thing, because I need to be heard for the playing for the live stream too, right?
Yeah, I had this floor mic to catch your playing and just to go to the stream.
Okay.
But we can
Whatever you
also,
think is
if we have the
best.
boom mic set up anyway, that would be a great source.
I'm not super comfortable holding a mic.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a gesturer. I'm a gesturer, Wyatt. So I think if I can, as long as this is okay, if that'll pick me up, then we could do that. Which that's
Yeah,
totally
here
fine.
actually. If you want to say some things in that configuration.
Sure.
Seal sounds.
Bark,
Nice.
bark.
Okay, that's
Okay, talk about all the things. This is me talking about all the things. All the things will be talked about. In fact, everything might be heard. So, and I do project, so that's useful.
That helps a lot.
And I practice this speaking more slowly than I typically
very
do.
aware of what sound is coming out. She does this all the time.
Yeah.
She's great. As opposed to the people who talk, you know, oh, you got a sinker, you got to fix that stand.
Yeah, might need some electrical tape. The tech crew at the orchestra, they know. They see me walk on stage, they come over with a roll of electrical tape. They're like, where do you want your stand? I'm like, right here.
See, I think that's great.
Is that gonna work? That's perfect, because if you don't have to do any more work, I love that for everyone involved, right?
And then we can, when you're playing, we can see how this sounds through the
Sure,
screen.
great.
It's set up there just to be able to check. And
Perfect.
if we don't like that, we can
Do
swap out
something different.
else. Yeah.
Fantastic. Love that. Great plan. What's the internet connectivity deal here? Am I doing PMAC guest?
Yep, no password.
Okay,
or anything.
perfect.
It should get you right on.
Okay, this is me getting right on. Amaze. Redirecting. Ta-da, ta-da. Success, it says. All right, so now there's the keynote. There's these. Are these actually going to play? I'm connected. Woo woo.
Your sound and then your video.
Perfect. So this is just going headphone jack.
Yeah, you said you had HT.
Fantastic. I do. I never remember which side it's on. It's on this side. Ta-da, ta-da.
There we go. And there you
Whoa.
are on the screen.
Perfect. I just, of course, unlocked it, but there we go. Okay. Beautiful. Yes, and all the things are here.
Yeah,
So
do you
if
wanna
I
play some
go-
sound real quick? Do you have
Yeah, let me make sure this is all working the way I intend. We could see if that video works.
I would take the BD train.
Would be a total guess.
I believe it's on 57
So that's-
and 7.
Q train, lost stop.
Unfortunately, each of the
Google Maps.
videos I'm playing has like a different sort of sound dealio.
Okay.
So let me just check. This one is particularly soft. Let's see how that is. The hottest flute player ever.
My heart.
I know, right? How is he that beautiful? How is he that beautiful, Kim? I don't understand. How is he that beautiful? So for this one, you might need to jack up my volume a little bit, I'm sorry to say. Perfect. And then there's also one I have to play from YouTube because embedding is evidently against its religion, but that one's loud. That one's loud.
He is not as beautiful as.
He is definitely not as beautiful. Big problems there. Big problems for not being as beautiful.
I'm gonna try to do some really gentle dynamic control.
Perfect.
So I don't have to be as on it, but I'll still be making
Yeah, no worries. Do you want me to play that so that you can hear it? That one is definitely the loudest. Right? Every time I've watched this, I've been like, where are the fishnets? Look, there's even a stool so that me and my heels can sit our butt down. All right.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Super. All right, let me set that to where it starts. Good. Fabulous. I think this way, everything. Wow, that's tiny. Everything one needs to be able to see. This, let's see how the IMSLP looks. I might just make you larger. And why did you not stay at rehearsal 176? It's because I turned you off and back on.
When do you hear about Dayton?
I already did.
And?
I did not even get passed from the prelims. And my friend is radio silent. And I don't know anyone who got passed from the prelims. Not Aaron, not my second flutist, not people I know who have bigger, more important jobs than I do. So, you know, I have many thoughts. Most of those thoughts include, yeah, my favorite word that begins with an F and ends with a K. Yeah, ends with a uck. That's the one. So, yeah, I don't know. I could not tell you, but it is what it is, and now I don't have to ruin my life, and isn't that lovely?
That's right. That's right.
So.
That's right. That's right.
So whatever.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that is what it is.
Yep. I would like an E sharp though.
An E sharp?
I'm gonna add the E sharp in there.
I know, right? So, okay, are you ready for this?
So ready.
My music director, who is wonderful and literally like God's gift to music making, but he's only 30, right? And so he's not done it. He's only covered it at Dallas.
Okay.
And so 2 weekends ago, I was like, hey, let's have a chat, you know, like, do you have a preference on notes? Because quite frankly, I have played all of them. I've played E major, I've played F sharp melodic, I've played A major, I've played, you know, the E sharp that we all want to play. And he's like, I don't know, can I get back to you? I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? He's like, I haven't thought about it yet. And I'm like, well, I've thought about it. I have an opinion. Don't you just want mine? Isn't it adorable? He doesn't know yet. So I'm still waiting for him to tell me what note I'm going to play. I think that I'll just, you know, wait. It's fine. It's fine.
C, E sharp. C, E.
Yeah, right? Because that's what sounds good. Let's go with E sharp.
Let's go with E sharp.
Yep, that's a great plan. And that's on.
I haven't even thought about it yet. I'm still processing that.
Right. I mean, the good news is that he's a sweetheart and ultimately he'll just let me do whatever I want. But it was just like, oh, I'm going to be a good girl and ask in advance.
Right, and not
And
just.
he's like, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. Well, you know who has thought about it?
You're holding me in the balance here.
You know who's thought about it? I can tell you who's thought about it. It's all good. All right, now where'd the... I know, there he is.
Jack.
He's adorable.
Wyatt, so her delightful doggy who has unfortunately passed on.
Yeah, there's Jack.
There's Jack. Has the same name. That's my dad's name, Jack.
Yeah, he's Jack Goodman,
Yeah,
and
buddy.
that's Jack Goodman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real good. Real good.
All the Jacks.
I learned how to use Keynote for this.
Keynote's kind of cool, actually.
I don't tend to do visuals when I talk because for all the tech things I can do, like PowerPoint is not one of them.
Which is the simplest of all the things you can do.
I know.
My friend.
And I'm just like, nope, that sounds way hard. I'm not even gonna do it. But I was like, I But I started like getting visuals together, and I'm like, this is gonna be really ridiculous if I'm like pulling up 16 things. So let me teach myself how to do this. I was very proud of myself for learning a skill.
I'm so proud.
I learned a skill.
So proud.
Bird.
So Allison, you know, I posted about my Pilates achievement.
Yeah, girl.
Allison said I
Incred.
wish we could take classes together, and every time I'm in class, I think about Allison being there. That would be a disaster.
Oh my God, you guys would just
Okay,
laugh.
start laughing. No, it would not work.
No.
My really good friend, and we joke around a lot, and she's like, oh, she was an athlete. She's like, oh, I wish I could come take Pilates with you.
This stage is very dry.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
There's a little delay, so I'm about to hear it.
Okay. A little delay in case I say my favorite word, which starts with F and ends with uck. I promise I won't. I believe you.
Okay.
I believe you. I truly do.
Lindsay, do you need water?
No, I have water. I do need some electrical tape though, because this guy is really just not my friend. What can I say? Thank y'all. Do a little switchy switch. Switchity switch switch switch. Thank you.
I heard compliments about you for the sound that you did for the after lesson.
Oh, really? That's great. That's
Ooh, this one's nice and sturdy. Thank you, Wyatt.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing.
Okay, fine. All right, feels good to play the flute, and you think the sound is good on both speaking and playing, and we know that the stuff coming from my computer is doing the right thing. So that means life is good, right?
Life is pretty good as
Life
far as
is
I'm
good.
concerned.
Super. And then, oh, is this where Kristen wants me to put albums and stuff for sale?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can move that if you want.
No, I can bring it on down.
Fixed.
No worries. I was
Yeah,
like,
I can
nobody's
get
gonna
this
like
out
just
now. This
come
was
on
the
up
backup
with it.
plan.
Backup plan?
But now we don't have to have
Well,
anything in your way.
you anticipated correctly every need. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Burp, burp, burp. Burp, burp, burp.
Supposed to be in here.
Burp, burp, burp.
I'm here.
Burp, burp, burp.
Are we not supposed to be in here?
That's all right. I don't know that the doors were even closed, so
Yeah, I mean,
Burp, burp, burp.
yeah.
I didn't break in.
Yeah.
Interloper. Okay, there's all that stuff. Cool. Wonderful. All right, what else can I do that will be useful to the process, Wyatt?
I'm all happy if you're
Super.
all happy.
Oh, I'm happy.
Great.
Quite happy.
So I will be up there in the booth.
Amaze.
If I see any questions on the stream, I'll shout them out. to
Yeah,
you.
sure. It sounds like maybe that isn't the most active method to receive those. And
Yeah,
that's
so you
fine.
might not hear anything
That's
from
okay.
me. But,
No worries. I think when I think stream, I think about the pandemic days where
Yeah.
that was the only way, you know, and so
Yeah, for sure.
people were very active, but you know, everybody has their own proclivities.
Seems like people generally attend or prefer to attend in person.
Which is wonderful.
Every now and then we'll have a handful of stream visitors.
Okay, well, super. Do we go up straight at 1?
Yeah, you'll be getting an intro from probably him.
Okay, I know her.
Yeah. And after that, yeah.
Amazing, perfect. Got all my stuff queued up. I have this lovely stool here in case my heels decide that they hate me. I have my visual aids. All the things are ready. There went that. Okay. That over there, and then I have everything a girl could need.
Right.
Beautiful. How many do we expect? Do we have any idea?
I haven't checked.
That's okay. Not a problem. Maybe I will just come down and be ready to go when it's time to go. Perfect. I've seen many a concert on this stage, but I don't think I've been here since the pandemic. Like,
Really? Wow.
yeah, right?
That's the only night I've known.
Oh, wow, how cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we always used to have Carpe Diem season tickets and been up to here. I guess it's now Worthington Chamber Orchestra, but
Oh yeah.
I just don't think
It's pretty recent.
yeah, so that's new. But yeah, there's been some changes in here, so that's exciting. Get to see some new things.
Anyway.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your help, I really appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. Thanks for being easy to work with.
Try my best.
I mean, do I ever really want to talk to Mama? Well, I know, but I thought we could do that when we say that in her. I would think that she would, I don't want to, I don't like pretending like I don't really care or whatever. Which, to a certain extent, I don't. But, by the way, we discussed that last night. And, everybody was, she told you, they, and I told her some of the other stuff she said, this lovely lady. Because, you know me.
Did y'all see some art?
Yes, we saw this floor and the floor above.
Do you always have interesting things? Okay, very good. How are your
No, not today, just introducing. No, just enjoying.
Got some answers. Okay, that sounds positive. Great. Oh, well, that's good. Were you concerned when they had it? Did you get a haircut too?
The other day.
Yeah, he was shorter than Sunday.
It's shrunk.
It's
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Lovely to see so many familiar faces. My name is Kimberly Goodman. I'm the executive director here. Just a few announcements. We are going to go straight through today with no intermission, just so you know that for planning purposes. We want to thank Worthington Spotlight, who is the sponsor. So it's coming to a close, and then we do it all over again, set up a brand new exhibition. I mentioned last week or 2 weeks ago about Mac on the Road. That's something we're starting this summer. We're going to do a series of field trips, and we're taking you with us. So we are going to go to the Columbus Museum of Art and have a private tour with a docent. We are going to Ohioana, which Clay knows very well. Clay, are you on the board of Ohioana? No, but you have some involvement. Ohioana is incredible. Then we are going to the Springfield Museum of Art to see the great Amina Robinson exhibition that's happening there. And the fourth place we are going is the Billy Ireland Cartoon Museum on the campus of Ohio State. So we'll meet here, we will carpool, or you can meet us at the location. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So all of you will get an email because you're enrolled for these classes, but we'll start sending those things out. I have two shameless plugs unrelated to the MAC. So in my other life, I'm a flutist, just like Lindsey. We play in an ensemble together. And this weekend, on Sunday, I'm playing in a Westerville Symphony concert. We are playing Appalachian Spring, really exciting program, 5 o'clock in Cowan Hall. And then next weekend, I didn't even tell you this yet because it happened so quickly, I'm gonna play with the Columbus Symphony. They are doing Sleeping Beauty, and I'll be in the pit. So if you come to the show, come down at the intermission and wave, and you'll see me in there holding on for dear life. So that's what I will be doing. So Lindsey Goodman, no relation, to me, even though we do have the same last name and I have been friends for over a decade, we play in a flute quartet called Pandemonium 4, and that is made up of the two Goodman girls and then the flute professor Lisa Jelly, who is at Capital University, and Allison Brown Sinkoff, who is at Ohio University. We've commissioned works. We've performed at many National Flute Association conventions. We even survived a very strange homestay years ago that sometime we'll go out for a cocktail and tell you about. I was teeing that up for your parents, so. Although we are not related, we are kindred souls and bound together by our love of great music, great food, and great travel. So please welcome my dear, dear friend, Lindsey Goodman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, it is so nice of you to have all chosen to spend your afternoon with me here at the MAC. Thank you, of course, to my dear friend and executive director here at the McConnell Arts Center, Dr. Kimberly Goodman, for the invitation to speak with you today. As she said, I'm Lindsey Goodman, no relation. My mom doesn't remember a second pregnancy. Today's presentation, just so you can follow along at home, is divided into 4 sections. First, we're going to talk about musicians' careers and lives. Then we're going to talk about how you get to Carnegie Hall. Then we'll talk about how to prepare for a big performance. And we'll finish with a question and answer session. So I hope that you'll all be saving your ideas for a lively discussion on any topic of those that you wish. Along the way, I'm also going to share 3 musical offerings with you, so we'll get the flute out as well. So obviously I'm a flutist, and I work as a soloist, as a recording artist, as an orchestral and chamber musician, as an educator, and as a clinician. I wear a lot of hats in my professional life. I'm a recording artist for Parma Recordings, a label that specializes in new music. I'm principal flutist of the West Virginia Symphony, the state orchestra of that state to our south. I'm adjunct instructor of flute at Otterbein University over in Westerville, as well as at Glenville State University in West Virginia. I'm the owner and instructor of Goodman Flute Studios, which offers private flute lessons to students grade 6 through forever learners. My current eldest student is in his 60s. I'm also artist faculty at the Mostly Modern Festival, which is a summer festival in upstate New York. I'm solo flutist of the new music ensemble What Is Noise, which is a touring sextet. And I'm the co-founder of 3 chamber groups, the amazing Pandemonium 4 with my friend Kim, the Chrysalis Duo, which is a singing flutist and singing pianist duo, and the Apollo Duo, which is a newly formed flute and harp duo. I tell you all of this not because you can't read the program for yourself. I tell you this to share that I am a full-time musician, and I'm what we call a portfolio careerist. So the portfolio career is not unique to music. The official business school definition is a tapestry of eclectic employment experiences. And my personal experience in knowing and collaborating with hundreds of professional musicians around the country places as many as maybe 85% of my colleagues living some sort of portfolio career lifestyle. It also can be called a multiple stream career, and I just call it freelancing on steroids. This professional path allows for combining multiple artistic disciplines, like I just told you about, which can really help in navigating the changing environment of the musical profession. As the graphic says, obviously this means I have multiple sources of income rather than one traditional job. I work for myself, though I do have bosses at various of my other positions. I both work remote and office-based, but every day certainly is different, and often every week and every month, and that's the reason that I've really chosen this lifestyle for myself. It's just so much more interesting for me than one single job. Now, so many 21st century musicians are portfolio careerists out of necessity because there are very few full-time jobs available for musicians, actually. The full-time jobs include 52-week orchestra or military band musicians, like the big 4 military bands in DC, or what they call ICSOM, International Conference of Orchestra and Symphonic Musician Orchestras, like the Pittsburgh Symphony or the Cleveland Orchestra. There are, of course, full-time collegiate and university professors. My husband is an example of a full-time K-12 school music instructor. And of course, there are also full-time arts administrators like my friend Kim. There are also a few options in fields like music therapy and sound engineering, but this is really kind of the end of it for full-time jobs. So a lot of us end up being portfolio careerists by necessity as well as by choice. Yet, professional musicians are elite, small muscle athletes. And that means we spend decades in specialized training through private lessons from the time we were very small children, through advanced collegiate degrees. A lot of my musician colleagues hold doctorates. And we also spend tens of thousands of hours over our lifetimes in daily practice. Now, many musicians, myself included, have experienced some well-meaning person, whether that's a non-musician friend or a family member or an audience member, or for me, it's always the person sitting next to me on a plane who asks, "What do you do?" And they all ask some sort of version of the question, "But what do you really do for a living?" Can't tell you how much we dislike that question. Some musicians definitely have a more traditional job. I have musician friends who are real estate agents or sell insurance as one of their portfolio income streams, but many of us, like me, simply do not. This is what we do for a living. So, we're gonna get real. This is my calendar for the week. This is an example of what a successful portfolio career looks like for a musician. And organization is a key to a portfolio career. So I'm color-coded, right? Red, or it looks sort of pink up here, is teaching. On Monday and Thursday of this week, those are my private students at home of Goodman Flute Studios. Wednesday is my teaching day at Otterbein University with all of my collegiate students. And there are a couple a la carte lessons sprinkled in there as well. Typically, I teach Monday through Wednesday, and I do teach the equivalent of a full-time collegiate load. I teach 22 students every week, which is what a full-time professor at, say, Ohio State University teaches as their one job. So that's my Monday to Wednesday usually. And then blue is for professional activities. You can see on Friday and Saturday, I'm rehearsing this week with the Ohio Valley Symphony down at Gallipolis by the Ohio River. And I also sit on a couple boards of directors, one of which is meeting on Wednesday evening. Purple is for performances. Hey, look, there's us. And I'm also playing on Saturday night the Ohio Valley Symphony concert. Typically, I travel to rehearse and perform Thursday through Sunday. And then the last color is green. Those are for personal care items, appointments, family events. There was Easter dinner with my parents, you know, on Sunday. Anybody else gonna go see Alton Brown tonight at State Night? That'll be really fun at Mershon. So green is for personal stuff. And as you can tell, yes, I typically work 6 to 7 days a week. About 46 weeks out of the year. That's what a portfolio career actually looks like. All right, back to my newfound skills of keynote. Okay. So as a small muscle athlete, self-care is really important as well. It's not just about the work I do or the practice I do. I really intend to be active professionally into my 70s and 80s. Many musicians work far beyond traditional retirement ages. So for me, wanting to be a small muscle athlete for decades to come, this includes exercising for 5 to 7 days a week. I split my time between running and strength training. I try to cook healthy, nourishing meals every single day I'm home, since I do travel for performances most weekends during the concert season, which runs September through May. And it's just the case that the proper functioning of my body is as necessary to my professional success as the proper functioning of my instrument. I really consider these tasks to be an important part of my professional music career upkeep. So I'm really exceedingly lucky. I get to do all sorts of things that I love for a living. But musicians don't just play all day. We often have tons of fun at our jobs. I'm forever really grateful for what I do, and I laugh a lot, and I cry happy tears a lot. But work is still work. We do it for a living. And attaining a high-level portfolio career in music demands a great deal of personal and professional upkeep and a wide range of extra musical skills. It's not just performing and teaching. It's also public speaking and grant writing. It's also networking. It's also entrepreneurial skills. It's teaching yourself to learn how to use Keynote. All sorts of things other than just playing the flute. As a really active freelancer, professional success also requires a great deal of persistence and perseverance and tenacity to take auditions and take interviews, to pitch concerts and projects anew every season, because every season you need more concerts to do, to make cold contacts, hey, can I come and do something at your venue, and to hear simply hundreds upon hundreds of no's over the course of a career. I always think when it comes to orchestral auditions, I make about a third of my living as an orchestral musician, and I'm now up to 68 auditions in my career. I've only won 2, but that's all I need. Right? So literally, we hear hundreds of no's. So the perseverance and the tenacity and the persistence is a really necessary part of a musician's skill set to achieve a financially stable and artistically satisfying career. So I hope that gives you a little sneak behind the curtain of the next time you see or encounter a professional musician in the wild. So moving on to the second part of our time together today, this leads us to the classic joke. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? There you go.
I would take the BD train.
Would be a total guess.
I believe it's on 57 and 7.
Q train, last stop.
Google Maps.
What is it, 65th? A little further up, 65th.
I'm not from this area.
I always have to sort of remind myself, wait, it's not where I think it is.
I have no idea.
Hold on, let me ask my cousin from New York.
57th Street.
A few blocks down, on the left-hand side, the red brick building.
Right next to Russian tea room.
Yes, it's right near my apartment. How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Practice, practice, practice.
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 So that's a really cute promotional video from Carnegie Hall's 125th anniversary a couple of years ago. Now that line is so ubiquitous that the New York City Concert Hall has an entire line of merchandise emblazoned with that famous punchline. Brought my props with me today. As with so many jokes, the reason that this one is funny and has endured the test of time is because it contains a nugget of truth, right? While it's certainly true that to play Carnegie Hall, a musician has to indeed practice, that's not the whole story of how a performer gets to perform a concert at that hallowed hall. I was really lucky. I got to give my Carnegie Hall solo recital debut in Weil Recital Hall on January 24th of this year. Which indeed put my face on the side of the most, whoops, that's not, see, I don't know how to use Keynote yet, which indeed put my face on the side of the most famous musical venue in the entire world, and yes, that was an amazing feeling. Now, the story of how I made it to Carnegie Hall is a really excellent example of how successful modern musicians navigate their portfolio careers. So we've got to go way back, decades. When I was an undergraduate student, I was mentored by the composer David Stock, who decided that this wide-eyed, uninitiated freshman should be a new music person. So he placed me into the contemporary ensemble at the university, performing works by living composers alongside the graduate students, and he was right. I really loved playing that music. Throughout my education across 3 degrees, I always pursued opportunities to collaborate with living composers and to perform new works, alongside my studies on repertoire of the traditional orchestral canon. My first professional work was actually in the new music ensemble that David founded, beginning while I was still an undergraduate student, and that opportunity launched both my career and my reputation as a performer of new music. David remained a friend and mentor through his death in 2015, including writing multiple works for me. He was a really lovely man. One of the pieces that my friend David wrote for me was a flute duet called A Wedding Prayer, and that was written in honor of my marriage and premiered at my wedding, the way you do if you're a new music person. And after David's passing, I wanted to make that work the centerpiece of an album of commissioned works written especially for me. As I researched record labels to collaborate with for the album, I contacted one called Parma Recordings and left a voicemail for the CEO, Bob Lord, because David, during those last years of his life, had mentioned their personal relationship as collaborators to me. Bob returned my call because he knew David's name. And he was thrilled to collaborate on memorializing our mutual friend in this way. We enjoyed an instant rapport over this common bond, and since then, I've released 3 solo albums with Parma Recordings, and yeah, thank you. And a 4th album is set for release this November. So I hope that you will all mark your calendars for Sunday, November 9th. There will be a free public celebration concert at Otterbein University, and I hope you will all be there to hear my chamber groups and I play some music off that new album. I also obviously have copies of my first 3 solo albums available today, so if you want to take home some exciting flute music by living American composers, you can come see me at the conclusion of today's session to purchase CDs by Venmo, PayPal, or cash. So my bond with Parma really expanded over the years to include a month-long chamber music tour across China, a concerto recording project with an orchestra in the Czech Republic, virtual concerts and workshops during the pandemic when all the other traditional performance venues were shuttered, And referrals for work both ways, because a relationship works both ways. I've referred artists to the label, and Parma has referred me to performing arts series. I've worked with nearly every member of that team, from the sound engineers and producers to the AR representatives, artists and repertoire, and the graphic designers. And the relationships feels very familial and supportive. So when my AR representative requested a phone meeting in spring 2023, I didn't know quite what she wanted, but she said it had just been a while since we'd embarked on a new project, and she asked what I was dreaming about. We'd been good work colleagues and friends for a long time, so I told her, my biggest dream is I want to play Carnegie Hall. And by that summer, I was contracted to do that. Parma initiated a featured recording opportunity to which composers from all over the country submitted works for either solo flute or flute and piano, with the result being an album release and a performance at Carnegie. Now, the result of that featured recording opportunity was In the Company of Music, my 4th solo album, which contains works by 8 living American composers, ranging in age from their 20s to their 90s, proving that creativity is readily available to all of us at every age. And In the Company of Music was released in 2024. There it is. Thank you. Proud of that one. The album release concert indeed was held in Weil Recital Hall this past January. Now, if you've never played your Carnegie Hall solo recital debut to a sold-out crowd of your family and your friends who feel like family, and the composers and their family and their friends, and your record label and their family and their friends, let me just tell you, it is the best feeling in the whole world. My parents were there. They were very excited. I wish that I could bottle that sensation and gift it all to you. Pianist Claire Longendijk, my musical ride or die there, and I received 3 curtain calls and a cheering standing ovation, so let's transport you there. So yeah, I am like literally crying in that video. So how did I really get to Carnegie Hall? Sure, I practiced a lot in between meeting David Stock at the start of my undergraduate degree and my debut 30 years later or so. But I also built authentic and trusting and real relationships with people, because music's about people. Right? From the people who press the music into the page as they compose, to the people who breathe life into the music when they perform, to the people who hear the music in concert halls or on recordings. So it's thanks to my strong bond with David that he wrote me inspiring music, and thanks to that artistic output and our shared network, I began that relationship with Parma through Bob Lord. And at every point in that relationship with Bob and the Parma team, I nurtured bonds with the individual people, and they did with me. And nearly all of them made the trip to New York City for my debut. That's the entire team. Every sound engineer and graphic designer and AR rep they've got. They all came out, and it was a wonderful time. The other reason I got to Carnegie Hall is because I learned to identify and to ask for what I want, which is a skill that people at every life stage should master and practice daily. Generations ago, there were all these stories, I don't know if they were apocryphal or if any one of them was actually true, of musicians being discovered while practicing hard in dusty practice rooms, and then the famous conductor would walk by and offer them the opportunity for their big break performance. I really don't think that ever happened, because that is not the way this business works. Yes, being excellent at your craft is mandatory for success in every profession, but so is just being brave enough to know what you want and to then ask the people who have the resources to help you get to where you want to go for the tools to actually accomplish those dreams. That's how you get to Carnegie Hall. So, now that you've heard that story of how I got there, would you like to hear some music from the concert? Yay! Okay. So first, I'll perform a work by Melissa Dalbora. She's a professor at Florida Gulf Coast University, and her solo flute work, Lava, describes how women's anger can flow slowly and powerfully like liquid magma. I like this piece. Melissa's writing is highly evocative and very picturesque. And this is a photo of Melissa and I from a performance of her piece at Millersville University in Pennsylvania last spring. So I hope that you enjoy this fiery testament to the unstoppable nature of women. This is going to be Melissa Dalbora's Lava. Playing the flute is thirsty work. Thank you so much. We have new music fans in the house, just the way I like it. The next piece I'll perform for you from that concert and album is another solo flute work, this time by Christopher Jessup, who's a New York City-based composer and pianist. And his soundscape miniature called Dampening uses the flute to portray the essential element of earth. The flute is most often called upon to represent the bird. Ask me how sick I am of that. So this means that my instrument is generally related with air or even water sounds. So portraying earth is an unusual and welcome sonic challenge. To do that, Christopher uses a lot of extended techniques, which are alternative methods of producing sound on our traditional instruments. And he also uses silence to craft this evocative portrayal. This is a photo of Christopher and me from backstage at Carnegie Hall, you know, no big. And I hope that you really enjoy hearing some new sounds from the flute. This is Christopher Jessup's Dampening. So some new sounds, right? I really like how he uses some sounds that almost sound to me like earthquakes for the earth. So, moving on to the third section of our time together, we all really enjoy a polished performance of a great work of music, but many music lovers don't know everything that goes in to a musician's process to arrive at that finished process or that finished product. So I'm going to share with you how a musician prepares to perform for you. After a concert, musicians are often told by well-meaning audience members, can you tell I'm getting through my laundry list of things we don't like to be told? Often told by well-meaning audience members things like, Wow, you're so talented, which always makes me think of this cartoon. It's practice. It's practice. It's practice. In my pedagogy as a teacher, talent is a dirty word. We don't use that word in my studios or with my students. I would always rather have a passionate or a hardworking student than a talented student. Because while talents can squeak by on innate ability for some amount of time due to natural proclivities, only desire and drive and self-discipline are able to manufacture the endurance necessary to carry a musician through tough times and produce the actual skill in their craft by nurturing the need to improve through self-discipline and actual love of the music. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work 10 times out of 10. There you go. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. To that end, the most important aspect of a musician's preparation, my face doesn't know how to go from flute to speaking, I'm sorry. The most important part of this musician's preparation for any performance is actually a daily focus on fundamentals. So that means for me, scales and long tones every day for at least a half hour, or as close to every day as is feasible. I think this quote really says it all. I did take some time off last week for spring break. If you noticed, let me know and I'll give you a refund. Now, for many years, as my parents can attest, I practiced on Christmas, which never went over so well, and on my birthday, and I took my instruments on vacation with me. There are photos of me playing scales with my feet in swimming pools. Now I'm a little older and a little wiser, so I do take a few planned weeks and days of scheduled breaks and time off to preserve a slightly healthier work-life balance. But because I keep a daily practice journal, I have some handy statistics regarding practice habits. So in 2024, I practiced on 302 days. That was a really light year for me. 302 days for a total of 459 hours and 25 minutes. That's a lot of practicing, actually. But the thing about practice is my favorite part of this quote is about you, the audience, right? Believe it or not, musicians love performing for you as much as you love hearing them, I promise. So let's take you really behind the scenes, and in 12 days, my orchestra, the West Virginia Symphony, is performing one of my all-time favorite orchestral pieces for our audience in Charleston, and that is Maurice Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe, and it's our season finale. So, anybody know Maurice Ravel? Oh, yay! Anybody know Daphnis and Chloe? Ooh, yay! Okay, so Daphnis is this sweeping, epic orchestral masterwork. It features double winds, a huge percussion section, a full choir, and the work is a particular favorite for flutists because there are prominent features for every member of the flute section, from principal to second to piccolo, and even to alto flute, which has this rich, low, beautiful sound. At the heart of this massive work is an extended solo for the principal flutist. And it's one of the most delectable of all the solos in our orchestral repertoire. It's really my honor to be able to perform such transcendent music for our community. So we're gonna talk about how I'm actually prepping for this show. Now, this performance has been on my calendar for 13 months. What happens during that time? A lot of the time I didn't think about it. But some folks think that orchestra members simply show up for that first rehearsal and they sight read and they hope for the best. And that's certainly not the case unless you're being called to fill in last minute due to illness or emergency. So I've known this is happening. Do I just dive in and start practicing the music? I mean, I could, but that's not going to achieve the best possible result. Instead, I always start at the very beginning by researching the composer. This is my buddy Maurice Ravel. He's not alive, but we still like him. He was a French composer of the 20th century whose music is often classified as impressionist, and he's known for his lush and innovative orchestrations. Now, since most of the composers of the Western, white, male, European, classical music canon come up time and time again on many programs across a lifetime, most musicians already know the basics and well beyond about these composers of the canon. So I like to dig for new nuggets of information each time I perform music by one of these creators, because unlike my living composer friends, we can't just go out for a beer. One of my favorite deep dive finds on the topic of Ravel is this fascinating 2001 opera/documentary/biopic. It's called Ravel's Brain, and it is free to view in its entirety on YouTube. It takes a uniquely artistic approach to exploring the last years of the composer's life when he was afflicted with aphasia and apraxia. This meant that Ravel was unable to communicate musically and had a hard time even communicating vocally. And so he underwent brain surgery, which was actually mandated by the French state because he was considered a state treasure. And that brain surgery actually ended his life. So we're gonna look at a scene from Ravel's Brain, and it's a fictional depiction of Ravel's actual surgeon. His name was Dr. Clovis Vincent, and he was the founder of French neurosurgery. And in this scene, he's musing about operating on the composer. Let's see if I can actually switch over to that. Promise I'm actually kind of techie, but not this way. Okay.
Le cas de Ravel révélant la déficience d'un hémisphère compliqué par les événements, hélas, l'accident lui coûte cher. Les divers excès de sa vie, les nuits blanches et les cigarettes, la suspicion d'une atrophie, hélas, ainsi vit notre esthète. Aléatoire, mais si je réussis, je change son sort, ce serait ma victoire. Et pour la science, la louange de voir le mystère dévoilé, je le délivre de la souffrance, ce génie trop tôt condamné.
So a fascinating thing, right? And again, you can watch that whole thing on YouTube if you're interested in the strangest biopic ever made. Oops, that's too early. Ravel's Brain. In addition to knowing about the composer, it's also important to research the piece and its background, of course. Now, in the case of Daphnis and Chloe, it was written as a ballet and commissioned by the impresario Serge Diaghilev for the famed Ballet Russe. Anybody heard of the Ballet Russe? Okay, so this was an influential Russian ballet company that was active in Paris from 1909 to 1929, and it birthed some of the most famous compositional ballet collaborations of the 20th century by composers like Stravinsky and Debussy, to name a few. It's like basically all of my favorite music. This ballet, though, Daphnis and Chloe, was conceived as a collaboration between Ravel, the choreographer Mikhail Fokine, and the designer Leon Bakst. And the collaboration was very fraught. It actually sent Ravel into poor health for months afterwards, but it produced beautiful results. So here are some examples of the scenery from Bach's original production. So this is Act 2 opening. Doesn't that just look glorious? I love the colors and the cypress trees. You're already starting to get an idea of where this ballet takes place. And here's the opening of the final scene. So these beautiful artworks. Now, classical music is divided into two camps. There's absolute music and there's program music. Absolute music is music for its own sake. Think Beethoven Symphony. And programmatic music depicts some sort of extra musical story or narrative. Daphnis is an example of programmatic music, as you can guess from the fact that it's a ballet and it's got scenery, right? So it's very important to know the story of the program. The tale of Daphnis and Chloe is actually much older than Ravel. It's the only extant work of Longus, a 2nd century Greek writer from the Isle of Lesbos, hence those beautiful Grecian trees, right? It's a very slim volume. It's fun reading. I find it delightful because to think that over 2,000 years ago, people had some of the same emotions and conflicts that we do is always refreshing to me. The German author and poet Goethe recommended that everyone read Longus once a year to be inspired of your own innocence. That's a direct quote. So get yourself a copy of that. It's actually really fun. So the story of Daphnis is a story of two orphans abandoned at birth and adopted by shepherding families. And these two young people experience young love in a natural setting. You can see where it's going. Like any good love story, there are challenges to overcome. Though this love story feels decidedly like a 21st century telenovela. There's Chloe's abduction by raiders, and then Daphnis's abduction by pirates, and then a whole bunch of ill-fated suitors for both of the young people. Now, after her abduction by pirates, Chloe is saved by the intervention of the god Pan. Think back to your Greek mythology. Pan was a half-goat, half-man satyr, the Greek mythological protector of shepherds. So these two young people were of his lot. And Pan was known for his numerous amorous exploits with nymphs. That's coded language. When Chloe is reunited with Daphnis, they pay homage to the demigod by remembering the story of Pan and Syrinx, which is a tale in which Pan pursues this water nymph named Syrinx, and she transforms into reeds, which he then makes into his namesake panpipes. And so this is the balletic pantomime that is the dramatic action underneath Ravel's famous flute solo. Now, Ravel was not the only creator inspired by Longus's tale. If you know one of my favorite artists, anybody know who this artist is? Chagall, ding, 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 y'all win, gold stars. 20th century Russo-French artist Marc Chagall, he created a series of 43 lithographs depicting the story of Daphnis and Chloe in his famous figurative style using all these beautiful saturated colors and line drawings. And so that's a really beautiful set of works you can view online. Okay, so good news. At this part in the preparation process, I've reached the music. So, armed with a background on the composer and the piece and the program, informed listening is next on the preparatory to-do list. It's very important for an orchestral musician to listen to multiple recordings so you can hear a variety of interpretations, of tempi, and of styles to anticipate what might arise during a rehearsal and performance. So we are going to take a listen to French-Swiss flutist Emmanuel Pahoud, otherwise known as Mr. Dreamy, play the Daphnis flute solo with my favorite band, the Berlin Philharmonic and Sir Simon Rattle. Play. Oh no. Play, Simon. There we go. And if you want to watch the rest, you gotta belong to the Berlin Philharmonic Digital Concert Hall. But that's some good music, right? So whether learning a new piece or reviewing a familiar one, listening to recordings along with the full score is going to ensure that the piece is about a lot more than just the flute part. It's really easy to get flute-centric on these things. I need to know what's happening throughout the ensemble at all times to make informed interpretive choices. So here is the score of what we just listened to. So you can see, there's my lovely little line up there. And I'm sort of hanging out all by myself. I've got some horns here holding long notes. And then in the harps and the strings, these pizzicatos. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2. And that's sort of the underpinning that Ravel has set for me. And then I just sort of get to do what I want, which is kind of lovely. Doesn't happen in the orchestra a lot. You continue to see the flute part there, the very active part at the top. And then we reach the flute section material, where actually the first flute passes to the second flute back and forth a few times, and then that sort of continues between second flute and first flute. The orchestra gets a little bit more active underneath, but it's still just really a flute party, the way God and nature intended. And then finally, the piccolo gets to come up here in the second bar of 182, and we start passing on to the small fellow. And then after continuing through a little bit longer, it gets faster, and then we have this famous little thing that we call the waterfall effect, where you see it goes from piccolo, first flute, second flute, alto flute, and then down into that yummy low alto flute solo, which was the end of what we just saw. So spending a lot of time with this score to know exactly what's happening. Now, score study, though, doesn't just end with watching the music go by. In studying any work, I go through the whole score for each piece in the orchestra, marking in important cues from other instruments, what instruments I'm playing with, what instruments I pass phrases to and from, and also figuring out different important architectural and harmonic features like chords and cadences and structure to help really understand the complete work and how my part fits in as a cog within that. So if it feels like a lot of time has passed now, even working with the music without actually playing my instrument, you're again right. So let's revisit, why are all these steps important? So unless an audience member knows this work beforehand or reads the nice program notes provided in the program, the casual concert listener doesn't have a fraction of this knowledge at their disposal while simply listening to a beautiful piece of music performed live. Please enjoy that experience. I want that for you. Couldn't I just cut to the chase and practice the gosh darn flute? Again, this isn't going to produce the best result. So next month, I'm performing Daphnis for the 6th time. I've played every part in the flute section other than piccolo. It's my 4th time playing principal. And I'm nearing a dozen performances on more common works like the Beethoven symphonies. I counted it up, I'm at 13 for Beethoven 5. These things don't go away over the course of an orchestral musician's lifetime for a reason. And while I hope to never lose my sense of joy and wonder that I get the privilege of performing masterworks for a living, oh darn, delving deeply into the standard repertoire really deepens the interpretation and enlivens my curiosity and helps me dig a deeper well from which I can mine to make each performance over the course of my professional lifetime both better and more fulfilling for me and hopefully for the audience than the last time. I really, truly hope that as a musician, I never get tired of asking why. It's my favorite question as a musician, why? So I like to accomplish all of this research and study before I ever play a note of the piece because the flute has distinct opinions, and so do I. I want to make sure that my decisions are well-informed rather than driven solely by what comes naturally to me or what comes naturally to the instrument. But that being said, my flute and I are a good team thanks to rigorous daily fundamentals. So once we're together, we are ready to roll. Now, throughout the process of preparing a piece, 2 things are always on my music stand. What are they? Yay! Ding, 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 tuner and the metronome. I call these the honesty boxes. And the honesty boxes are on through most of my practice sessions every day of my life. These really do keep musicians honest and make an immense contribution towards the goal of being a solid team player in an ensemble environment. So if I have tempo or intonation weaknesses, everybody around me in the orchestra now has that weakness too, and they have to make adjustments to fix my problems. And vice versa. None of that is cool. It's gonna waste time and energy and effort we could spend on just making the music better. So to that end, it's also important to consider who you're going to be performing with and where. Back to my keynote here. Even in the first stages of preparing a work, a musician has to consider the ensemble, the conductor, and the venue. Come on, you can do it. So this is my orchestra, the West Virginia Symphony. You see that little pop of red in the middle? That's me with the best seat in the house. I highly encourage you all to become principal flutists. The orchestra sounds the best there. I hold positions with multiple orchestras, and all of them have different strengths and weaknesses to consider, so depending on where I'm playing something, I'll prepare differently. They all also have different conductors, and the personalities and preferences of those people play a really major role in shaping the interpretation of any performance. So for work with a big solo like Daphnis, I always check in with the conductor a few weeks in advance to see if she has any preferences that I should integrate into my preparation. Of course, the conductor can ask for various things, either visually or verbally, at any time during a rehearsal cycle or a concert as well, but an advanced conversation prevents me from being too surprised in real time or from being too far down a rabbit hole that person doesn't want to go down after I've already done all of my preparatory work. Now, in the case of my upcoming performance, I had a short discussion with the West Virginia Symphony Orchestra's music director, Maurice Cohn. That guy on the podium's my boss. 3 weeks prior to the performance, and I feel confident, thanks to our positive working relationship and mutual respect, that I will be at liberty to play pretty much as freely and as collaboratively as I choose during the concert, as long as he chooses E sharp. That's just for Kim. It's okay. The performance venue for a concert is also a major consideration. The size and the dryness, which is how much reverberation a space has, can drastically alter everything from the necessary decibel levels of dynamics to the length of the articulations. Now, the West Virginia Symphony performs in the Clay Center for the Arts and Sciences of West Virginia. That sounds fancy. In Charleston, it's an 1,800-seat, 2-balcony auditorium, and it's got really flute-friendly acoustics. Chef's kiss to the Clay Center. And having performed there for 18 seasons, I'm very familiar with the appropriate dynamic range that will allow my sound to clearly be heard to every seat in the hall. Now, at the end of the day, though, performance preparation always comes down to, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. All comes down to practice. Now, in the case of Daphnis, which not only contains the prominent flute solo we have now talked about ad nauseum, but also significant technical challenges on either side of it during this massive 20-minute work. There is a lot of work with the metronome that is going into this, practicing at many tempi. Slow practice is a musician's best friend. Even when the music goes really fast, you gotta practice slowly to ensure that the finger memory is strong and reliable under pressure, and practicing at a variety of tempos, which are clocked during that advanced listening stage, safeguards my ability to perform accurately no matter what speed a conductor chooses or whether the orchestra rushes or drags in real time. That totally happens. Now, even when performing an old favorite work of music or a piece that can be sight read, anything can happen in a live performance, which means there's no replacement for simply knowing your part inside and out. There's an old saying that goes, amateurs practice until they get it right. Professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. And that's pretty much the way it works. So when preparing for an orchestral performance, my ultimate test of whether I'm ready to perform is to play along with a recording, believe it or not. I choose a performance from YouTube so that I can watch the conductor and the other orchestra members for visual cues, and I play over the existing flute part, whoever that riffraff is, trying to match the inflection and style of the other instruments and react to the conductor's interpretation while trying to stick to my own interpretation that I've decided upon rather than mimicking that of the flutist on the video. And this is a great test because if I can assimilate to a top-tier orchestra, often performing at much higher pitch levels than we play here in the United States, without a rehearsal, in an unknown hall, with complete strangers for collaborators, I know that I'm going to be confident performing at home in one of my own ensembles. So, we finally got to the playing the flute part. After all of that, you want to hear the flute solo from Daphnis and Chloe? I would love to play it for you. So we'll do a little revel. I gotta stop after the solo flute part though, because I didn't bring like 3 extra people with me for all the stuff you heard from Berlin. I'm sorry. Next time I'll bring everybody. So it does sound actually better with a full orchestra. So if you feel like making a beautiful road trip down, what is it, 77? It takes about 2.5 hours to get down to Charleston. Come join me in the West Virginia Symphony on May 3rd to hear the whole piece. I promise you'll love it. So, thank you for your interest and your attention this afternoon. At this point, y'all are really sick of hearing my voice, and boy, I am too. So I would love to make this a discussion, and I'm ready to entertain all of your questions regarding a musician's life behind the curtain. What are your burning questions? Yes, Dr. Goodman.
Tell us about your taxes.
Oh, God. There are so many of them. So, and this goes back to being a portfolio careerist, right? So, well, we just did taxes. Anyone want to hazard a guess? I don't actually have a ton of W-2s. I have a ton of 1099s on my Schedule C. Anyone want to hazard a guess how many 1099s I reported? 20. We heard a 20. Any other numbers? 30. 30? I had 33 1099s this past year. And 7 W-2s. No, I have a wonderful husband who pays for a TurboTax membership. Shout out to my hubby. So the Schedule C, the 1099, all the W-2s, and anyone want to hazard a guess how many states I have to file taxes in? It changes every year. This year was 12 states. So, I mean, where you really get hit as a freelance musician is if you don't choose a lot of withholding up front, right? So I don't get to take home most of what I make, right? As if I'm getting say I'm being paid $500 for a one-off thing, they're not taking out taxes. So that means for my scheduled things like Otterbein or WVSO, I have like 30 to 40% taken out in withholding, so I don't get hit with a ton of taxes at the end of the day to sort of make that up. But the other place you get hit is from filing all of those separate states. It's like $70 a state for like 12 states. It's kind of insane. So yeah, taxes are an exciting time of year. Yes?
How does your income compare to, say, a full-time musician, flutist in the Columbus Symphony?
I don't know what the Columbus Symphony makes. I do know what my teacher in the New York Philharmonic makes. I don't make that. I also work a lot harder than he does. I saw my teacher when I was in New York for Carnegie, and that weekend, he requested to be on Orchestra B because the New York Philharmonic has two orchestras. They split the orchestra into two so they can provide 2 concerts each week. So he was on Orchestra B so he could be free to come to my Carnegie concert. So the show he played that weekend, he played one 20-minute piece. That was his lift for the week. And he was complaining about how many students he teaches. Remember, I teach 22 every week? He's got 8 at Juilliard. And he makes 2.5 times what I do. So that just goes to show that, if you're playing with the big boys, you get a lot more time on your hands. I don't know what someone in Columbus makes, but I know that I make a better living than several of my colleagues who have full-time jobs. Every year is different. Some years are better than others, and you have to work out that, but last year and this year are going to be very good years. We'll see what happens after that. Yes?
As busy as you are, and that schedule at the beginning made that very clear, do you or other portfolio artists ever use agents or managers of some sort?
That's a wonderful question. I do have friends who have agents. I have long wanted an agent. Every agent I've been approached by or have approached, I have rapidly learned that for the retainer amount for just having their services, and then the percentage they'll take after the fee, and then their relative competence level and network size, none of them that I found so far would do it better than me and keep more of my money in my pocket. So I have chosen not to have an agent at this time, but I am definitely looking for one who can do it better than me, because I'd like to do less of the behind the scenes sending emails to people. I would like that very much. So as soon as I find one that I think is a good fit, I will have one. The folks I know who do that don't prefer to have their hands in as many pies as I do. So they're more comfortable just playing the piano or whatever. I'd rather do it all myself at this point. So that's a great question, though. Yes?
The first piece, I think it was, had so many unusual sounds.
Yeah.
That you don't expect. How is that written on the page?
Ooh. Super. All right, so now you might have to look at a picture of my dog for a second. That's my dog. Let me get up the score. And I think I have it here to show you. I hope I have it here to show you. Please tell me I have it here to show you. J for Jessup. Oh my goodness, I don't. That makes me so sad. Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't have them here. Sorry about that. I will show you here on my iPad. It's going to be much smaller. I gotta stay near the microphone. So, pieces that use extended techniques. We'll go back to the pretty screen just so it looks nice. Often come with what we call keys, where the composer writes in what the technique is and the different note style they'll write. So you can picture a regular music note that's just sort of like a black or clear head with a stem. And so Christopher Jessup, he's writing tongue rams. That's when I thrust my tongue into the embouchure hole to create a lower sound, which is a super cool sound. Sounds like a bass drum. That's a standard, I know, the funny thing, that's a standard extended technique. It's a standard extended technique. So if he just writes tongue rams, I know what to do. But what he has to do is show how he's writing it. So even though some of these techniques might be standard for people who play new music, what's really annoying is there's no standard notation for it. So every time somebody wants to use one of these, you can use the name, and we know the name. Like it's gonna be flutter tongue, or it's gonna be a jet whistle. Jet whistle is the one where you blow your air fast and it goes through, right? Those sounds that you heard during the Jessup dampening. But there's no standard notation for that stuff, so they have to include that every single time. And then you can see, I don't know, it's kind of small. There's all these funky little note heads to tell me whether it's a tongue ram or a jet whistle. And what's really scary is because there is no standard notation, even though he's provided that lovely key, I still have to write in, hey, that's a tongue ram, because I don't recognize what it looks like in this particular piece unless I have it written in. So right now it's still the Wild West of extended techniques, and people are writing them all sorts of different ways. So explanation is really key. And the fun thing is that people are still inventing new extended techniques all the time. I invented one and a composer used it in a piece for the first time, and now other people are playing that piece and people are emailing me going, what does that mean? And I'm like, let me teach you how to make this weirdo sound, which is really pretty fun.
What is it?
Oh, I call it the monster sound. So I cover the head joint and I growl through my flute while moving my fingers. So my friend Rob McClure, who's the head of composition at Ohio University, wrote me a piece that's supposed to be the soundtrack for a non-existent horror film in which I'm the monster in. So I make that, and there's live processed electroacoustics that make it sound even scarier. So we're filming the horror film for it in Philadelphia this summer. So stay tuned for flute horror movies. Yes. Extended techniques.
How do you know what they're supposed to sound like?
That's a great question. So some of the standard ones, like a tongue ram or a jet whistle, we all sort of know if we've done it before, but I teach a lot of these techniques to students who have never done them, right? So there are some good resources online. There's a place that I like called flutecolors.com by a Dutch composer. And so he has all these places, like, so here's the jet whistle that you heard a lot. So this is a website I send students to all the time, and it shows how to notate it, different methods for that, whether it can be used on the other members of the flute family, stuff for how composers can write it, stuff for how flute players can do it. He also put some examples of, hey, listen to a jet whistle. I talked over it. That sounds like what I did, right? And then he has these lovely educational videos that teach you how to do the thing in his beautiful Dutch accent. So this is one way that I have students learn how to do these techniques.
To perform this technique, cover the embouchure hole completely with the lips. Then force the air into the flute by exhaling with a strong air impulse.
There you go. So now you too can do a jet whistle. Congratulations. Get yourself a flute and you're in business, I promise. So that's one of the ways that we can learn those techniques, or composers can simply describe them. Yes?
Does Christopher Jessup play the flute?
No, he's a pianist. I know, right? Absolutely. That's definitely one of the things about composition that fascinates me. I think composers are my favorite people because I'm a recreative artist, right? I don't create diddly squat. People who say that musicians are creators, I strongly disagree. I just take other people's stuff and I make it slightly better or slightly my own. But I don't create anything. I can't rub two notes together and make a chord. You know that's true because a chord has 3 notes. Sorry, that's an old joke. But composers really have to know the capacities of the instruments they're writing for inside and out, and that's one of like They're wizards, man. They are wizards. I don't understand how they do it either. They spend a lot of time studying, and they spend a lot of time asking the people they're writing for sometimes interesting, sometimes stupid, sometimes transcendental questions. So the good ones know when to ask for help. And Christopher, I did not work with him on the writing of that piece. He worked with a flutist named Ebony Thomas, who premiered that piece, and she's a great proponent of extended techniques, and she got him on the right track. It's some of the best extended technique writing I've ever seen from somebody that age. So like, he's primo. Yes?
How many flutes do you own? And if I were to go to the local flute store to buy one, would I have to sell my firstborn child?
Depends what you want. This is my primary baby. My baby and I, Brandon Brothers, number 3443. He and I have been together since January 1998. I have been with him longer than my husband. That is my soulmate. Don't tell my husband. So that's my primary baby. I have another flute by the exact same maker, by the exact same person who made the instrument, but a decade earlier. So I also own Brandon Brothers 1153, and that's my backup flute. I also own what I call the Franken flute that I use to play outdoor, like summertime pops concerts, because the babies don't go outside. So I own a little Franken flute that's very like what my high school kids play. Then I own a piccolo made of wood, and he's beautiful. And then I own an alto flute, who's my favorite, because if only I could make a living just playing the alto flute. Anybody knows a person, which is really fun. And let's see, what else do I own? I own a fun wooden head joint that I put on my silver flute, so it sounds a little bit like I'm playing a traverso or like a flute from the 17th or 18th century, which is pretty sweet. And I have some recorders and some fifes and some ethnic flutes. I have a couple of Chinese ditzes. My insurance policy is large. You would not have to sell a child, but you could buy, if you wanted, they make flutes out of all sorts of things. Gold, platinum. I mean, you could easily buy a very nice car for a flute. Mine are about what a car costs, like a reasonable, normal person car. There you go.
She could go buy the student.
But you could go buy a student flute. I have students who start on $500-600 flute. A lot of my college kids only play something that costs about $2,000, and they work quite well. So don't be turned off by the price tag of a professional one. You only need that if that's what you're doing for a living. Yes?
The various ensembles you're in, do they just play for private events, or are there times that the community can see?
Oh, all of my performances are public. Yeah. No gatekeeping on music. Okay. Music for people all the time. And in fact, if you wanted to know where to find me next, you could totally go to, why didn't I think about putting this in? Why doesn't it actually take me to my actual website? You could go to lindseygoodman.com. Hey, I know her. And there, in fact, is my schedule with hey, look, there's us. You can find where I'm going to be at any point in time. Unfortunately, I don't play in Columbus as often as I would like, even though I live here. I do most of my concertizing around the state of Ohio, in West Virginia, and in Pennsylvania, and then in various other places. But you could go to lindseygoodman.com and see the schedule and find out where to experience a concert next, whether that's a recital or a concerto or orchestral or chamber music. Come see me. Say hi. By all means. And I'm very easy to find. I'm Lindsey at lindseygoodman.com. So if you do see a concert that you're interested in, please send me an email, Lindsey at lindseygoodman.com. It's really easy. Send me an email. I'll see if I can't hook you up with some free tickets and at least get you to say hello before or after the show. Sound like a plan? That's a deal. That's a Max special. Yes?
So I'm interested in you going to West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
so many professional musicians playing in ensembles in other states.
Mm-hmm. That's a wonderful and very loaded question. Different orchestras do things different ways. The West Virginia Symphony is what's called a ROPA orchestra, Regional Orchestra Players Association. ICSOM that I mentioned before and ROPA are union orchestras. We are all governed by the American Federation of Musicians Union. I'm very proud to say that the West Virginia Symphony has the finest provisions for traveling musicians of any ROPA orchestra in the country. We cover hotel or host family stays, we cover mileage at the IRS rate, and we cover per diem at the IRS rate for every day we're away. So we lose nothing by going, and because I cook most of my own meals, I take most of my own food, so I take most of that per diem on home with me, which is pretty great. And I do stay with lovely hosts who are like family. When I go down and play with the Ohio Valley Symphony, I also have a lovely host I stay with. They also pay mileage, they also pay per diem. For non-union work, because there's a lot of that, like if you're working as a soloist or a chamber ensemble, those aren't unionized. Those are just performance series or venues offering concerts to performers. Then you try to work the price of all of that travel into your fee, right? So if you're like, okay, I would pay that concert for $500, but I've got to fly there and pay for a hotel, so I'm going to ask $1,000, right? And so that's how you sort of get around those sort of expenses. And then there are also a lot of grants for musicians. Like for instance, Kim and I are playing with Pandemonium 4 at the National Flute Association Convention, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. And the NFA is a pay to play. Everyone goes there because it's the most prestigious convention for flutists in the world. And so if you wanna go play, you have to pay your own way. And so I was very lucky to get a grant from Otterbein University and a grant from the Greater Columbus Arts Council. Thank you, GCAC. Thank you, your tax dollars at work. So that I can go to those events without incurring costs. So grants are also an option for travel as well. But yeah, that all goes into figuring out how you're actually gonna bring some money home at the end of the day.
Will you share the audition process for orchestras?
Oh, the audition process for orchestras. Oh yes, because you asked, like, is there incentive? So most union orchestras advertise the first of each month. They publish a publication, which I can see the front of, and I can't. The International Musician is the name of our union paper. It comes out every month, and it lists all the open jobs throughout the United States and Canada. What do you think, Kim? On any given year, how many flute jobs are open in the United States and Canada? That's what I was gonna say. Like six to 9 jobs in the entire continent are open every year. Anyone want to guess how many people typically show up to an orchestra audition for one of those seats? Flute is a very popular instrument, so we have some of the biggest. All right, give me some numbers. Thousands too high, hundreds maybe a little low. I would say most auditions have like 120 to 150 people for one job, and there's like 8 of them a year. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes you have to send, like, for instance, a preliminary tape to even see if you're good enough to come for the audition in person. And all the audition expenses are on you. You have to pay to fly there and pay for your hotel and pay for your food and pay for the privilege of playing for 5 minutes behind a screen to be said, "No, thank you." Sort of the way it works. So it's odd. Now, because these are advertised nationally and internationally, they technically have to hire whoever plays the best, whoever they deem to play the best that day. Because there's a big move towards auditions being totally blind. They typically are behind some sort of screen. And it used to be the case that oftentimes the screen came down in the final round when they had maybe just 3 or 4 people or 2 or 3 people. And then other things came into play. You know, maybe we know that person, maybe we know that person is more local. But there's a big move for all auditions to be blind fully now. So, you know, you could be auditioning to play in an orchestra that pays $100 a service in New Hampshire, but you live in LA. And maybe because the West Virginia Symphony has the best incentives for traveling musicians of any orchestra in the country, they're not as good as mine, so you got to get yourself from here to there and back again. Even in the WVSO, I have a very dear friend who plays English horn, and he commutes from LA. He's one of those musicians who has a real person job. And so commuting from LA to Charleston, West Virginia is not an insignificant expense. He does not make money playing in the orchestra, but he is fine with that because he has another income source and he does it out of love.
Also, it doesn't matter where you went to school because a 17-year-old won the principal, so it doesn't matter.
Who doesn't know how to do the job, only knows how to play the flute, roll fast and roll pretty, but doesn't know how to sit in an orchestra and do the thing. That child doesn't know how to do the study I just told you about. I can guarantee that. But good for them, more power to them, right? Yeah.
Once you win that seat,
Mm-hmm.
is there an ongoing audition process, or how do you?
Great question. So there is a tenure process in most orchestras that's covered by the collective bargaining agreement. My orchestra states that you have to do a full season of masterworks. Our masterwork season is 8 concerts. So whether that takes you 1 season by playing all 8 masterworks or multiple seasons to get through that because of your schedule, once you've played a full season of masterworks, you're eligible for tenure. And then you can't be fired unless you do something really dumb.
So the 17-year-old has a way to go before you feel safe.
Yes. Oh, there are very, I would say half of the auditions that happen, oh, this makes it even worse. So there are like 8 auditions a year and like 150 people at each audition. I'd say half of those auditions either result in a no hire, hiring someone who is already like associated with that job, whether they're already in the section or they've been a long time sub, or they hire that person and they don't get tenure and they just do it again. So even if you win, half of the time, that's still not your job. It's really frustratingly competitive.
And picture an orchestra, there are 3 spots for the flute.
Principal, second, and piccolo, that's all there is. If you play the violin, there's 16 of you. There's 16 of you. My Lord. Y'all should have told me to play the violin. What the heck? Those are depressing things. Anybody have a happy question?
How important are sponsorships? Are there sponsorships like through the West Virginia Symphony, either corporate, private?
Oh, absolutely. Any performing arts organization makes a small fraction of their total budget from ticket sales. Ticket sales are diddly squat. If no one has ever told you this, arts lovers, that's why everyone always asks you to donate. They're not being greedy. It's because your ticket sales, like what, are like 25% of the budget, and the rest is everything else. We're not being greedy. We just literally need it to like continue what we're doing. The West Virginia Symphony is a state-sponsored symphony, so we get the majority of our budget from the state of West Virginia, who just voted to get rid of the Department of Arts and Culture. That happened 3 weeks ago. So they have been, the arts and culture has been consumed by now the Department of Tourism, which is run by a friend of the governor. So we'll see what happens next season. It might be really exciting. We just announced 2 weeks ago our full season. So I think we must have, the administrators must have a path forward, right? But there are lots of sponsorships, corporate sponsorships. Our Masterwork season at WVSO is sponsored by the Meyer Foundation, which is a big architectural firm, the biggest architectural firm in West Virginia. Our Pop series, oh, I'm not gonna be able to pull it, is sponsored by a chemical company because West Virginia, right? So corporate sponsorships are a big part of it, as are state funds and individual donations. And I think that's pretty, well, the state funds are not as big of a part of a budget of most performing arts folks, but donations and grants and corporate sponsorships are primarily how every performing arts organization in the country stays with its doors open. Right? Perfect. Okay, there we go. Oh, I know this answer. Sorry, it's on the internet. Sorry. I have premiered 214 world premieres. 214 world premieres I have given. Because that's what I do. I really like living composers. They're fun, you know? They're wizards. You get to pick their brains. And I'd say that most of the composers who have written for me have become friends, right? People that I find to be really near and dear to my heart because we share this strange birthing process, right? They ask me questions, I ask them questions. Sometimes you get to really down and dirty, right? Sometimes you see drafts and you exchange weird recordings back and forth. A composer, a friend of mine, Lainey Lilios, who teaches at the at Bowling Green State University, when we were working on a new piece, she would send me little voice memos on our phone saying, I want you to go like this. And then I'd send her back a sound that sounded like that on the flute. She'd be like, how do I write that down? I'm like this. So just getting down there and dirty with the composers is the best possible thing. Sometimes they just send you the finished piece, and then it's your job to make it better than what they put on the page and teach others how to make it better the next time. And my favorite thing about working with living composers and premiering new works is giving them a life. Because a world premiere is one moment of time. Only the people in that room on that day in that place get to hear that. Your job as a commissioner is to give that work a life, so as many people as possible can hear it. And that's a big reason that I became a recording artist. It wasn't just a vanity thing like, I want some CDs. No, it was so that the composers and those works that they labored over to give me this voice could reach the largest number of listening ears by allowing those works to be disseminated widely and heard by the most number of ears. So you don't just have a musical kid and toss it away. You make sure it gets to adulthood, right? Yes?
What you talked about going over the full score to the piece.
Yeah.
So you must have access to, I mean, and then what's on your stand? When you're playing?
Yeah. What's on my stand as I'm playing is my iPad. I run this fabulous application called Fourscore. So like, I get to turn the pages with my foot pedal. Isn't that slick? It's slick. When I'm playing solo works, I do just look at the flute part. Same thing for an orchestra score, because you saw how tiny that flute part is, right? But for chamber music, I often play off a full score. So like when I play with my sextet, I've got 6 lines of music going, and I have to highlight which one I have to look at. But I like to see the full score go by when I'm playing chamber music. Now, in terms of access, y'all, I'm gonna like blow your minds. There's this place called IMSLP, the International Score Music Library Project, and it has nearly all of the public domain scores to like everything. Tens of thousands. Somebody name a composer you like. Dvorak. I like him. He's good. All right, look at all these Ds. Just look at the Ds. Wait, how come I can't figure out where DV? Why, how come I can't figure out where Dvorak is? Oh, he is on the next page. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with my mother's a kindergarten teacher. That's why she just shouted out how to alphabetize for me. So there's Antonin Dvorak. Here's all of the works of his available to listen to look at. So my favorite is Dvorak 8. Here's Dvorak Symphony No. 8. I can go on, and I could get the flute part for you if you want, but you don't care about that. Nobody wants the flute part. Instead, you can get the complete score, and in 15 seconds, or for a small donation yearly, you too can support the International Music Score Library Project and download the whole score to Dvorak 8. Did y'all know that was out there? It's super cool. It's like my favorite thing ever. And a great teaching tool, obviously. So there you go. There's Dvorak 8 on your screen in less than 30 seconds. Look what's on that internet. Isn't that fun? Ta-da. That's where you get all that stuff. The recordings, I do most of my recordings from YouTube because I like to be able to watch what's happening, you know? I'm a visual learner. What can I say? I know I'm a musician. You shouldn't say that, but I totally am. Visual learner, so I need to be able to see things. All right, I'm going to say something. A lot of people use streaming services. People love like Spotify and stuff like this. Recording artists don't actually make any money. To get like a single dollar from Spotify streaming, you need something like 100,000 streams, right? So I refuse to use streaming services. All of my albums are available on streaming services. Please feel free to listen to them. I want everyone to hear that music and those composers' outputs. But in general, streaming services do actually steal the money from the recording artists because we don't see pennies of that. That's why the best way you can support a recording artist is by buying their albums from them. Sorry, that sounded like a hard sell. I don't mean it to be a hard sell. It's mainly telling you how evil Spotify is. So I use YouTube. I use YouTube a lot for my own things as well. If you want to get more fabulous free music from me, you can go to Lindsey Goodman Fans at YouTube and see dozens upon dozens of live performance videos in all sorts of genres. Hey, look. Hey, look, there's Kim Goodman. She's right there. Dozens and dozens of live performance videos, including full concerts from the pandemic. YouTube is a great place because once you get a certain number of subscribers, you do get a kickback from them, and it's more than you would get from a streaming service. So I tend to listen on YouTube because it supports the artists more, and I have a very, very large CD collection. I have like something like 600 physical CDs at home. Yes, I would say a lot of solo and chamber musicians are playing with iPads all the time. It's slightly less common in orchestra. I'd say probably like 15% of my orchestra plays off iPads.
So, how's that controlled? Like you're given a...
Yeah, so most, if any sort of new piece of music you get, whether it's from an orchestra or a composer, they're gonna email you a PDF, right? And this application that I showed you, Fourscore, you can download PDFs directly into it from your email, or you can airdrop it in, and then it just literally shows up. I've got this massive library. How does it say how many scores? I have 1,013 scores on here by all of these composers. Look at all that music I have on there. Look at all that music. And it's wonderful because the reason I made the switch was because I wanted to be able to read off a full score to do chamber music, but it's really convenient because I am a little forgetful and I tend to drive across state lines without my folder of music, which is a real downer. So if my iPad is with me, I know I have anything I might need to practice. It's very convenient to carry this tiny thing rather than my music library. But I still do have 4 filing cabinets at home full of actual sheet music too. It's a lot of music in my house. Yes, ma'am, who I've never met before.
Do you have a picture of the Emmanuel Pahoud smiling?
I don't know.
The answer can be no.
I'm sure there are. Do you want me to find one?
He's just really handsome.
Oh my goodness, he's very dreamy.
Young Emmanuel Pahoud. Yeah, that's not what I Google.
Let's look at, yeah. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good. And I did, fun story. Kim, were you at the 96 convention in New York City? I was too. That was Emmanuel Pahoud's first time performing in America. And he played the Duccia Sonatine on a National Flute Association gala concert. And then there was like a line out the door of people waiting to meet him. And so I have a photo of me and Emmanuel Pahoud, and he signed my program. And then when I was, so it was the first time he was on this continent, and I got to meet him when I was 16. And then when I was doing my last degree at the Manhattan School of Music, they have a reciprocal relationship with the Salzburg Easter Festival over in Austria. And so I was one of 6 students chosen to go attend the Salzburg Easter Festival while I was at the Manhattan School of Music. And the Berlin Philharmonic, my favorite band, is in residency there every year. And the big thing was that all of us Manhattan School of Music students got to have a lesson with one of the members of the Berlin Philharmonic. And so I had a lesson with Emmanuel Pahoud. And I don't remember anything he said. I was just like, I have no idea what he said to me. But I definitely had that experience when I was 24, and I will never forget it. I breathed his air. All right, so I think that's probably it. If you have more questions, I'm happy to engage with you. I'm Lindsey at lindseygoodman.com, and I hope that I'll see you at a concert or performance or seminar soon. The easiest one to remember, I know it's a couple months away, but please mark your calendars for Sunday, November 9th, 2 p.m. at Otterbein University for the album release concert of my new album, Transporting Bright. Kim Goodman will be there playing. We like her, and there'll be a world premiere, in fact, all music by living composers. So thank you so much. I appreciate the MAC for this warm welcome. I appreciate being asked to be here with you all, and yay for the Lifelong Learning Institute. Woo! Thank you.